When they dragged the human into the Hall of Tides, chains on his wrists, dried blood at his collar, one leg failing just enough to suggest damage but not defeat. Queen Sereth expected gratitude, because mercy from the Valorian crown was not kindness. It was spectacle, the final jewel of victory. The blue dome above the court shimmered with deep ocean light. Nobles leaned forward. Officers watched in cold silence. And Princess Lyra studied the prisoner from the step below the throne. Curious why a man so visibly broken still carried himself like a blade. The Queen announced that Captain Adrian Voss of Earth would not be executed for the Battle of Nerith Gate, that he would be spared, exiled, and returned to the stars as proof of royal compassion. The court waited for thanks, for collapse. But the human only raised his head and said, "Keep your mercy." That was the moment the ceremony stopped belonging to the throne 3 nights earlier. Voss had led a crippled strike ship against the Valorian blockade and nearly shattered the royal command lattice before his vessel burned down over Nerith. His fleet was gone, his admiral dead, his mission failed. By every law of empire, he should have died in orbit. Yet he stood alive because the Queen wanted the galaxy to witness her restraint. Sereth asked if he understood the honor being offered. Exile was dignity, survival, wisdom over vengeance. Voss answered in a voice scraped raw by smoke and pain. Survival bought with your pity is surrender wearing fine clothes. The words moved through the chamber like a blade slipped between ribs. Several nobles hissed, but Voss went on, saying queens gave mercy downward. From height, from safety, from victory. While respect had to be offered across the line, eye to eye, risk to risk, Lyra felt the force of that before anyone else did. Because she had lived her whole life inside beautiful cruelties, and suddenly the whole ritual sounded cheap. Some defeats take everything except the right to define yourself. The Queen's face cooled into something harder than anger. She reminded him that humanity was far away, that no rescue fleet was coming. What remained to defend, she asked. Voss straightened as much as the chains allowed and somehow made the throne look smaller by standing under it. What remains, he said, is mine to decide, not yours. One noble spat that this was arrogance. Voss replied that history often called courage arrogance when it came from the losing side. That answer nearly shattered the room. Guards shifted, weapons hummed awake. And Lyra saw that everyone present was suddenly afraid. Not of a captive man, but of the possibility that he was right. The Queen offered him a final chance. Bow, accept exile, and leave alive. Voss smiled with the dry certainty of someone who had chosen the only honest path left to him. My people did not send me here to be spared. He said, they sent me here to stand. He had not refused life. He had refused humiliation dressed as grace. Lyra rose before protocol could stop her. Every eye turned as she stepped down from the royal platform and placed herself between throne and prisoner. She saw him closely then, the split skin across his knuckles, the burn marks at the neck seal, the discipline holding his exhaustion together, and she understood what mercy would do to him. It would preserve his body while shrinking his meaning. She turned to her mother and said, "If you spare him against his will, the court will call you generous. But the galaxy will see that you wanted obedience more than justice." Sereth's gaze sharpened. Justice was a more dangerous word than mercy because it admitted the conquered might still possess something the victor could not seize. Then Lyra faced the human and laid her hand over her heart in the old Valorian warrior salute. The one used for no prisoner and no subject. "Captain Adrian Voss," she said, "I offer no pity. Only witness. You fought, you endured, you stood. No one in this hall will reduce that to a gift from the throne." For the first time, his expression shifted, only slightly, yet enough for her to see the weight in him ease. Respect changes a room faster than fear ever can. The court fell into a silence deeper than obedience. Nobles who had come for spectacle found themselves trapped inside meaning instead. The Queen understood the trap before anyone else. If she executed him now, she would look petty. If she exiled him under the old terms, she would look vain. And if she accepted her daughter's framing, then the human would leave not as a beggar preserved by mercy, but as an enemy recognized by the crown. At last Sereth spoke, each word cut from pride, remove his chains. Grant him a war vessel, provisions, and safe passage to the edge of Valorian space. Let the record show that Captain Adrian Voss departs beneath our recognition. Not our mercy, the sound that moved through the hall was disbelief, because it is easy for rulers to crush, much harder for them to yield 1 inch of vanity before their own court. When the chains fell away, Voss lifted his bruised wrists, then answered Lyra's salute with the simple precision of a soldier who understood exactly what had been saved. That was the day the Empire learned dignity could survive defeat. Lyra walked with him to the outer gate beneath the sea dome. Beyond the transparent wall, the dark ocean of the moon moved like living glass and distant. Dock lights drifted in the water above. She asked him quietly why humans made survival so difficult when it was freely offered. He let out a tired breath that was almost a laugh. Only when survival costs the part we came to protect, he said. She asked what part that was. He paused at the threshold, the light catching on scars and exhaustion. Then he answered, the part that decides what a life means, not what it costs. Years later, when wars shifted and treaties cracked, and Queen Sereth's mercy was remembered only in formal archives, the story that endured across both empires was simpler. A human refused to kneel for pity. A princess answered him with respect. And in that brief exchange, the galaxy understood something it had long mistaken about Earth. Humans were dangerous not because they loved war, but because even in defeat they guarded the meaning of their own honor like a last unbroken frontier.